What is up, sports bettors? Welcome to Guys and Bets. It is Thursday, January the 17th. Andrew Avery here with Jonny OddsShark. Jam-packed show for you today. We got Kelly Stewart on the show. We're talking Pats Chiefs. We've got tonight's bites involving some NBA, NHL, and college hoops. But first, Jonny, this announced this afternoon. Gladys Knight performing the anthem at Super Bowl 53.
Wow. Over.
You haven't even let me say the time yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Over or under $1.50?
$1.50? That's
Yeah.
it? Over.
Over's the easy money, right?
Yeah, easy money. Here we go. This is great. This is great. That number's going to go up.
For sure.
When you can middle the anthem, and we've seen opportunities before, you can do that. And I think this will go up a few seconds. And to be middling the Super Bowl before it even starts, that's what gambling dreams are made of.
Is your dream for Bette Midler to do the anthem?
Yes, it is.
For you
to be,
middle
and then to
a Bette
middle,
Midler anthem?
It is. I never knew my dream until now. Thank you.
Our good friend Chris Abbott, at Chris OddsShark on Twitter, actually tweeted when she did the anthem at one of the WrestleManias, which I remember. I think it's from the late 80s, 88 or something.
Outdoor one, maybe?
I can't remember.
Okay.
My memory's not that good. I'm getting older.
All right.
Getting older. But yeah, 150 over.
How long did she do it? Did he say?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it was just announced, so we got to research.
We need some capping time for this.
Yes.
And NFL, if you're listening, please have Bette Midler do the anthem.
Please.
At one of the
Make our dreams. We'll retire as gamblers if we can middle a Bette Midler anthem.
All right, Jonny, let's get into tonight's bites, where we look at three of the biggest games on the board, no matter the sport. And I want to start in the NBA. We have the Philadelphia 76ers.
I think we're starting with Michigan State, Nebraska. The headline says "CORNDOGS" up there. So.
Oh, that was your CORNDOGS headline. All right, then.
Okay.
Nebraska has won 20 straight home games, and they're actually 14-3 ATS in their last 17 as dogs. Michigan State in town, 6-0 ATS, and their last 6 is chalk. What's your play here?
Well, I'm going to take the CORNDOGS. I can't resist a corn dog, and anybody knows this is my affectionate nickname for Nebraska.
That's right.
When they are set as underdogs. Do you like corn dogs?
I can't. The last one I had would have been 25 years ago when I was watching WrestleMania and Gladys Knight.
All right, well, I'll say you like it. Let's take the CORNDOGS. Couple key injuries at guard for Michigan State. Both these teams are great bets this year, 13-4 against the spread and 11-4-1 against the spread. However, home court does it for me. Nebraska is 7-10 in their last 7-3 in their last 10 games. In those 3 losses, they only lost by a combined 8 points. So even when they lose, they keep it close. Great game here. I'm going to go with the home team. Nebraska gets that home streak. School record.
Let's move on to the NBA now, Jonny. 76ers at Pacers. This one opened Pacers minus 2.5. It's now 4, and the Pacers are 9-1 straight up in their last 10 home games, and have gone 15-4 straight up in their last 19 against the Sixers. But you're looking at something else. Yeah,
I'm looking at the total here. Jumped right out at me. It struck me as a little high, so I'm thinking it's high for a reason, and it is because the Pacers have gone over the total in 9 straight games here.
That's right.
In their last 11 games, they've either scored 114 points or allowed at least 114 points, and most of the time more than that number. I just think against the Sixers here, who can also score this over streak, I'm not going to stand in the way of this over freight train right now for the Pacers. So I like the over.
Let's finish in the NHL. We got the Maple Leafs at the Lightning, and the Bolts are what? Minus 145 on the money line here. Leafs just 2-8 straight up in their last 10 in Tampa, and the Lightning have won 9 straight on home ice. But again, you're looking at something else. Yeah,
looking at the total here, and one of the talks in the betting world right now is first period in Lightning games. They've gone around 21 or 22 overs and 2 unders in their last 24 games, I believe it is here. So Leafs not playing that great right now. They're looking for more effort. Babcock shuffled the lines in practice on Wednesday. I'm looking at the goalies here too. Freddie Anderson back after an 8-game layoff after a groin injury. He didn't look good in his first game, allowed 6 goals, first game back. It's a groin injury, bad injury for goalies. So I'm going to take the over here.
Perfect. Over 6.5, minus 140 there on the ice. Great stuff on tonight's bites there from Jonny OddsShark. Let's talk some NFL. And we did the NFC game on the Tuesday show. We're looking at AFC here today, and it is Tom Brady, the New England Patriots, at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs -3. Total, back up a little bit to 55.5, Johnny. Temperatures for this one, frigid, right? Cold temps. I saw this, I mentioned this on the podcast, but I saw this over at Arrowhead Pride. Bill Belichick, 6-2 record against Andy Reid. But in Belichick's 342 coached games in his career, including the postseasons, only 7 times have his teams allowed 40 or more points. 3 of those coming against Andy Reid coached offenses.
Wow. Well.
And this one shocked me too. Pats just 2-7 ATS in their last 9 in this round.
Yeah, this is the sore spot for the Pats, and when it comes to Brady, and 3-4 as a dog in the playoffs, and he's got a losing against the spread record in conference championship games. So you got to look at that. Now there's another pretty big stat too, that goes the other way. Brady's covered this spread at 70% as an underdog in his career, and a huge winning record also straight up. So he's been a moneymaker as an underdog. But the big thing here, you know how Brady said, everybody thinks we suck?
Yeah.
There was some talk this year about the Pats not being as good and the dynasty's over. Do you know where that came from? It came from their road play.
Yeah.
They're 3-5 this year on the road, and they scored 12.2 fewer points on the road than they did at home. That's the biggest disparity other than the Raiders. The lowly, terrible, horrible Raiders. The Pats are right there. So they're going on the road here against a very, very good home team in Patrick Mahomes, who I think is the best QB in the NFL right now. So I think you throw all those things in. I really think this game's going to go over. I think we're getting free points because of the weather. I don't think it's going to have as big an impact as the early line suggests here. And we might even see this total come back up, but we'll see. For now, we're getting some free points. So I like the over. I'm going to take the Chiefs because of the Pats road play and because of Patrick Mahomes.
You're going Chiefs. You like the advantage at Arrowhead?
Yeah, I do.
And talk about home field advantage in this round.
Yeah, and home field has been a godsend for teams in the conference championships in recent years. They've now won 10 straight and covered the spread in 9 of those.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, bet against the home team at your own risk, but it makes you uncomfortable betting against Brady, doesn't it?
Yes, of course it does. That's why I wrestle with the side in this game. I don't really know where my money's going yet. I do like the over. I think there is points. That stat I just threw out there about Andy Reid coach teams being able to hang some points up against the Patriots and Bill Belichick. As far as a side, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Teasers are good this time of year as well.
Yeah.
7 of the last 10 conference championship games, the total finished within 6 points of the closing number. 5 of the last 10, the spread finished within 6 points of the closing number. So teasers have shown some value in recent years in these games.
That's a good call right there as well. We talk more football with Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter to get her thoughts on this weekend's Rams-Saints game, the experience versus sort of new talent factor that exists this weekend when you look at the 4 quarterbacks with Breeze versus Goff and Brady versus Mahomes. Home field advantage, QB props, and much more. Here is Kelly Stewart.
We're now joined by Kelly Stewart. You guys know her as Kelly in Vegas. You've seen her on CBS Sports HQ and Wager Talk. Kelly, thanks for joining us. I'm going to jump right in and ask you about the QBs. We got 2 old guys and we got 2 young pups here starting this weekend. What do you say, youth or experience?
That's terrible. 2 old guys. He was 40 yesterday. He's not that old. This is tough because it's a hard thing to quantify, right? So you have to look at this. Obviously, Brady and Breeze both have Super Bowl experience, tons of playoff experience. Both are great quarterbacks, going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. And then you have Patrick Mahomes, who is really, truly special. I know Chiefs fans get mad at me a lot. I've never bagged on Patrick Mahomes, though. The kid is an absolute stud. He does make mistakes from time to time, as we're going to see with any young quarterback. But I do think he has the edge here on Jared Goff. I do think Jared Goff is now better now that they put C.J. Anderson in the backfield because he has Todd Gurley, he has Anderson. and he has more time. This is giving the offensive line a little bit more time, which gives him a little bit more time to not make mistakes. So to quantify an edge here, I wouldn't say there's value on either side. Of course, people are going to want to go with the more experienced quarterbacks. They're expecting maybe a choke from either Mahomes or Goff, but I don't think that we're going to see that happen.
Speaking of QBs here, there's odds out there for which one will throw for the most yards this weekend. So who do you like? We got Patrick Mahomes at plus 225, and then Breeze, Goff, and Tom Brady all at plus 275. What's your play here?
So this is where you have to think about logically. Okay, do we think Patrick Mahomes, obviously he's the slight favorite for a reason. Do we think he's probably going to have a ton of passing yards? Absolutely. But as we've seen in games past, the quarterbacks that have a ton of passing yards are usually the ones playing from behind. So I actually like Drew Brees plus 275. We'll get to the Rams-Saints game here in a minute, but I do think that we're going to have to see Brees chucking it downfield a lot more, even dink and dunk passes to Alvin Kamara a ton, and I think he actually is going to have the most passing yards this weekend.
I like it. Home field has been a much bigger edge in recent years in the conference championship games than it has in past. We've seen 10 straight home winners, 9-1 against the spread. How do you value home edge this week?
Yeah, you know, this week in particular, it's extra special because why? Arrowhead is a very hard place to play. Even when the Chiefs weren't good, I grew up in Kansas, so I've been to Arrowhead several times. That place gets rocking. Now that they're good, that place is absolutely electric. I have not been to the Superdome, but I've heard awesome stories. Even last week when the Saints were down 14, that place was still up and going. These are really tough places to play. So you give them naturally like 3.5 to 4 point home field advantage here. And I think you could maybe even bump it up a half a point for the playoffs. So it is something I take into consideration here. It isn't the end all be all though.
All right, break down these two games for us here. And let's start with the NFC, Rams, Saints. Let's get your capping notes here and your plays on both of those games.
Yeah, this is an interesting dynamic because you have Sean Payton and Drew Brees who are 6-0 in playoff games in New Orleans. You have a Rams team who started off red hot, kind of cooled off there in a little bit, but never really in danger of losing the NFC West because, well, they're in a division with the Cardinals and the 49ers. So the Rams had a great rushing game against the Cowboys, and I didn't necessarily think that Todd Gurley was going to be it. I kind of told a lot of people, hey, listen, as a quote-unquote Broncos fan, C.J. Anderson is a stud. I know he's kind of been around the last couple of years since he got cut, but he had an absolutely electric game. And I think that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off the Rams because if something happens to Gurley, they know that Anderson is going to step up in the last 3 games. 422 yards, 4 touchdowns, 66 carries. Man, I know you can't sit Todd Gurley, but might be something to think about here. And then on the flip side, I was bashing this Rams rushing defense last week, saying that I thought they would be exploited, and that was why I didn't want to lay the 7 with them. I did not take the 7 with the Cowboys, but they really limited Ezekiel Elliott last week, 20 carries, a touchdown, and just 47 yards. So that is my concern here for the Saints. I know that Alvin Kamara not only is rushing out of the backfield, but he can catch those ding and dunk passes in the slot. So it's really interesting here to see how that defense is going to step up against the Saints. On the flip side, Drew Brees, you know, they were down 14 last week, and I laid the 8 with the Saints. I also had them in a teaser with the Rams, but it was really an interesting dynamic. Down 14, and never once was I worried. I was like, it's fine. The Saints had just kind of started off slow. Why? Because they sat everybody in the Panthers game, rightfully so. You don't want anybody to get hurt in a game that doesn't mean anything. And then they had a week off. So I'm really interested to see how the Saints start off this week. Did they get kind of a scare and say, hey, you know what? We had a chance to lose that game. We've got to come out strong this week. Jared Goff, I think if he limits his mistakes, doesn't throw a crazy interception, that kind of stuff. And again, we have another big game from Brandon Cooks and C.J. Anderson / Todd Gurley. I think the Rams can go in there and surprise people and win this game. I also lean towards the over in this one. I haven't bet it yet, but it's really interesting. Both of these teams average over 30 points a game, and here we are sitting at 57.
I like it, Kelly. Always love your insight. We always love talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Great stuff from Kelly, as always, at Kelly in Vegas if you aren't following her yet on Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, Johnny, Just want to get this out there. This from the OddsShark Twitter feed. Average length of the last 10 national anthems, 2 minutes.
Okay.
How many of those previous 10 went under a minute 50?
I'm going to say 1.
Good guess.
2?
It's 2. Kelly
Okay.
Clarkson at a minute 34 and Carrie Underwood at 1:47.
Yeah, I remember that Carrie Clarkson sprint to the finish.
Did she?
Did you say minute 34?
Minute 34.
Yeah.
Kelly
It was bam. Minute 34
Yeah,
with
that's
the total.
a quick one. That's a quick one.
Minute 50.
Wanted to ask you about the QB props there with for most yards thrown this weekend. What do we have? Mahomes at plus 225 and then Breeze, Goff, Brady plus 275. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we have some nice little odds here, and I like Goff in this one, plus 275.
Yeah.
Good little payout, and I think the Saints are going to try to make Goff beat them. So they're going to try to limit the run game and do that. So he's going up against a secondary that's ranked amongst the worst in the NFL statistically all year long, allowing 276 yards over the last 3 passing yards. So I kind of like that situation here. I think, and I think we'll see tons of points and tons of yards in this game too. So I think he's worth a shot.
Let's check in with our boy Gilles Gallant, who caps tonight's NBA board and breaks down a couple picks just in case you can't get your NBA capping done. Let's see who Gilles' on.
What up, fellas? It's time for my favorite NBA picks for tonight's primetime slate. Time is money, and I'm not here to waste yours, so let's get right to the plays. My first pick is to take the over between the Sixers and Pacers. The Sixers have been shooting lights out this month by averaging 121 points per game and shooting almost 40% from 3. Normally a defensive team, Indy is also getting it done offensively by scoring 117 points per game in January. Coming into this tilt, the Pacers are the hottest over bet in the association, with the total going over in their last 9 games for an average combined score of 231.5 points. I think this total is set too low, and with the way these teams have been scoring, I'm banking on a 10th straight over for Pacers games. I'm sticking with another total for my next pick and taking the under between the Kings and Hornets. The Kings may be the best overbet on the road this year, but their games have actually been falling short of totals lately. The under has hit in Sacktown's last 5 games with an average combined score of 213.8 points per game. Speaking of scoring, where is it for the Hornets? Charlotte is 24th in the league in points per game this month and only shooting 34% from 3. When these two teams met just under a week ago, the final combined score was 201. Much like the last pick, I think this total is set too high, so I'm happy to swoop in and take the under. For more NBA betting coverage, head over to OddsShark.com. For NHL picks, be sure to check out Chris Abbott every Tuesday. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to OddsShark's channel for the hardest hitting betting content on the tube. Now let's get back to Guys and Bets.
Thank you as always, Gilles. And there you go. He's on the same thing in that Sixers-Pacers game.
Love it.
Must instill a bit of confidence there. That's great stuff.
Absolutely. Gilles knows his stuff.
Gilles does know his stuff. We recorded the podcast earlier, and before we sign off here, we talked a little bit about props. Is there one or two beyond Goff in the passing department that you've got your eye on?
I'm looking at Travis Kelce 6-1
Yes.
to be the leading receiver here. I think the combination with Tyreek Hill and him, I think one of these guys is going to explode. And Tyreek Hill has just killed the Patriots the last 2 times they played, almost 300 yards, a couple TDs. He's just killed them. So I think he's a nice big target on a cold day, 6-1. I'll take that.
I like 2-point conversion. What is it, plus 135?
Oh, I love that one. And like I said, if the game is close, comes down to a final score, we might see somebody go for 2.
Yeah, and you've got 4 forward-thinking head coaches there that aren't afraid to.
Exactly.
I think it's good money there. That is it for today's show. You've got tonight's bites in the NBA, college hoops, and the NHL. We've got our Pats Chiefs capping done. If you haven't seen the Rams Saints, head on over to the YouTube channel. You can get a look at that. We'll tweet it out from @GuysAndBets on Twitter beforehand. Follow Jonny on Twitter, @Jonny OddsShark. Follow me, @Chalk_Ninja. Follow Gilles, @GDog5000 for everything you need for NBA. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. We will check you out on Tuesday to start thinking and talking about the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
We'll leave you with our Shark Bite of the Day.